I first began taking a close look at what was happening in China while I was working on a book project that traced the history of Chinese gastronomy. What I saw was a population of about 800 million people, with most of them living in poor rural areas. During the past 50 years, that population has expanded to almost 1.5 billion people, making it the largest population in any nation. And half of those people have moved from the country to the city, and that migration is the largest human migration in history. In response to this extraordinary shift, the Chinese government began developing a massive set of projects to meet the needs of the growing population in the cities. Actually, with 1.5 billion people, anything the government does ends up on a massive scale. They had to create detailed plans for the cities so they could handle the increase in population. They had to develop companies that could handle the demand for new infrastructure. A healthcare system had to be organized. It was essential to have a plan to improve and protect the environment. They had to develop an educational system that would meet the demands of a growing and younger population, a population that was moving away from manufacturing and into the service industries. They needed a way to share their knowledge and technical skills throughout the world. But before we take a look at the things that were developed to deal with these challenges, let's take a look at how commerce began in China. It'll help place everything in context. China's Han Dynasty dates back to about 200 years before the birth of Christ. From its very beginning, it was continually harassed by nomadic tribes along its northern and western borders. In 138 BC, Emperor Wu decided that his best shot for putting an end to these attacks was to form an alliance with a few neighbors who shared his feelings. He sent his emissary, Sun Chen, to negotiate a mutual defense pact with his western neighbors. During his expedition, Chen came in contact with various cultures that were virtually unknown to the Han. One was the Great Ionians, who were the descendants of the army of Alexander the Great. When Al decided to go home, some of his army stayed behind and intermarried with the locals. Chen was introduced to the extraordinary horses that were being bred by the Great Ionians and quickly realized that these horses could play a key role in defending the raiders. Wu imported the horses and destroyed his enemies. Emperor Wu began to wonder what else was out there that he could import, and what did he have that he could sell to his new friends. And so he opened up a trade route which eventually became known as the Silk Road. But it was not just one road, it was a series of roads that ran from one city to another. No one actually traveled the entire route. Traders would take their goods from one city to the next and sell them to another trader, who would move them along to the next part of the route and then sell them to somebody else, who would mark up the price and move them along again. It was not only a series of land routes, there were equally important sea lanes. The road started in China and went through India, Asia Minor, Mesopotamia, Egypt, Africa, Greece, and Rome, and ended in England. Herodotus was an ancient Greek author, and he thought that no human being moved faster than the people on this road. In fact, he wrote, "Neither rain nor sleet nor snow, nor dead of night will stay these couriers from their appointed rounds." Eventually, these words became the motto of the United States Postal Service, and they are inscribed on the main post office in New York City. To a surprising extent, they are still accurate, but only for priority mail signature required.